The main factor of RPE is to focus on your talk, your speaking ability. How many sentences? Are you conversational? Could you only do 2 sentences at a time strung together and have breathy words? Could you do 1, half a sentence? Are you grunting like a caveman? According to the RPE scales, there is a correspondence between 1 and 2, or roughly 1 and 3, and to zone 1, and then maybe a 3 or a 5 for zone 2. All that sounds super confusing, but what does it break down to? For the different zones, they are supposed to correspond to your percent maximum heart rate, which I have another video that explains theoretical maximum heart rate that you can check out. However, we can always rely on our ability to talk. We can always rely on our ability to talk to help us kind of self-assess subjectively our rate of perceived exertion. If we can speak in a conversational level while we are exercising without any problems whatsoever, we are most likely still in a zone 1. We could be reaching a zone 2, but we are still able to talk. That means we're still taking in oxygen very, very easily. This is what you want to pay attention to. If now you can string a couple sentences together, but then you have to take a breath, you are most likely in your zone 2. Your rate of perceived exertion for that may be anywhere between a 2 and a 4, or a 2 and a 4.5. Those are subjective measures. They do help me as a trainer to know what your rate of perceived exertion is, even if it is subjective. Because consistently, you as a client will be consistent with how you perceive an exercise. So it does help. I know that the numbers are they're not consistent all the time because it is subjective, but it does help to know. So that was at zone 2, a couple sentences strung together with some breathy words in between. Just an idea. Zone 3, you might get 1 sentence in or a half a sentence in, but you got to be breathing while you're doing it, and you're gasping for air, you're starting to. That is a zone 3. It means it's starting to get more challenging to get oxygen and use it. Zone 4, which may correspond to a much higher RPE, 7 and up, or even an 8 and up on the RPE scale. Zone 4 is you're getting a couple words in at a time. It's really challenging to breathe. There is a zone 5 that is much more taxing, and you're grunting like a caveman at that point. So the talk test is really helpful in aligning with rate of perceived exertion. You ultimately can come up with, between a scale of 1 to 10, how hard would you perceive your exercise? You can come up with how that feels for you, but the most important part to think about, instead of just feeling, is, am I able to talk? How breathy are my words? That's the type of thing that does take some practice and takes some exercising. If you're new to exercise, it's going to take you some time to really understand what your limitations are and how you feel about certain movements. But in general, that's how it breaks down. We can relate the percentage heart rate to how hard we work as well. So if your heart rate is going up and you're monitoring it with a chest strap heart rate monitor, which is something that I do recommend for my clients, one of these. I specifically recommend this one because it is the best. It's the best for the price as well. It's not pricey like the other ones are out there, but this is a chest strap with EKG, so it's super accurate. I don't recommend it if you are on medication that alter your heart rate, beta blockers, etc. Obviously those are some specifics, because your heart rate is going to change. If you're not on medications at all, please try to use these. These are very, very good to accurately see what your heart rate is at. And we can calculate your theoretical maximum heart rate, and we can be training in accordance to those zones. And when you're exercising, instead of having to worry about, well, what's my rate of perceived exertion, you can align it to your heart rate. But you always want to layer it with your ability to talk and how much you're able to talk during exercise. All right, so now that you understand the concept of RPE, rate of perceived exertion, just know that that is part of your exercise prescription. I will tell you, hey, I want you to do a 10-minute run, but I want your RPE to only be a 4. or I want your RPE to only be a 6. So depending on how I prescribe that for you, that's just an example. Same goes for weight training. Hey, I want you to be doing 10 repetitions, and on the 10th repetition, I want you to say you're at a 7 RPE, 7 out of 10. So challenging, definitely challenging. Breathy words, half a sentence, couple words at a time, you gotta breathe. That's the general idea. So I know this is a lot of information, but to summarize, RPE is your rate of perceived exertion. It's super subjective, but it can help us track our own progress and help me help you track your progress as your personal trainer for rate of perceived exertion, because intensity of your exercise matters to induce adaptations. RPE can correspond with anywhere between 1 and 10, and there's other numbers in between. And so you can name those as per how difficult the exercise is. The main factor of RPE is to focus on your talk, your speaking ability. How many sentences? Are you conversational? Could you only do 2 sentences at a time strung together and have breathy words? Could you do 1, half a sentence? Are you grunting like a caveman? Those are things that can help pair alongside RPE. And you can tell me that. You can say, hey, by this amount, I was grunting. I couldn't even talk. I was just saying, yep, good. Those type of things. So I hope that helps clear up this information. If you're on my YouTube and you're interested in understanding how to progress your own program, go ahead and check out my personal training website, sign up for the email list. You'll get a bunch of free stuff, and I'll get to know your goals a little bit more. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.